everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show with Rich Baxter, myself, and my great co-host and good friend, Mr. Gary Mack. How are you, Gary?
Hello, Rich. Thank you for that introduction. I hope I can live up to it. How are you?
Doing well for we got less than a week to Thanksgiving here. We're rolling up on Turkey Day holiday. As I said the last show, one of my favorite times of the year. It's sort of a sluggish mode that people get into on that week before Thanksgiving. And then, of course, after they eat that turkey, they're really in a sluggish mode because it puts you to sleep a little bit. But we're talking baseball here, of course, and we had some great news this past week. As we left the show last week, we said that we know who the MVP will be, and I'm wearing a Philly shirt today. Isn't that something to speak of? We got a new MVP in Philadelphia, Bryce Harper, and he was really on cloud nine when they announced it.
Yeah, the NL MVP, Bryce Harper of your Phillies, had a terrific year. There are those that argue that how could he be MVP when his team didn't even make the playoffs? Well, there's different ways of looking at it. And I guess I think we discussed it here that, maybe Major League Baseball's got to look for a player of the year, for somebody that's got all the great stats, and then redefine a most valuable player. He was the most valuable player to his team. I think you have to look at it and say, well, would his team been where they are without him? And that is an indication of what his value. But look, it's fairly voted on and everything, and he got it. And I'm gonna say he deserved it. I don't think the other candidates reached his level, and he gets a lot of bad press, and I still don't understand it. I'd like him on my team. I think, he got this reputation as being either a hothead or a pain in the ass. But, I talked to you, I talked to other people from Philadelphia. I watched some of the games. You see him in the dugout. I don't see any of that at all. I see him interview. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like a friendly guy. I don't think has there ever been any stories about him giving reporters a hard time or shunning them or complaining to them. I don't think he does that, maybe when he was younger or something, but I don't even recall it then. So he's a good ball player. He's got to work on his consistency a little bit more, I think. Is this his second MVP?
Second MVP, yeah. He won the first one in 2015 when he was younger, a lot younger. He's still 29 years of age, and that's what people forget. He's still 29 years old. And as you said, he did have a reputation, whether it was deserved or not, with Washington. He got into a few tiffs on the bench there. And I used to view him as like kind of a rabble rouser, so to speak, when he was with Washington growing up. And he was much younger then. So maybe that had to do with youth. Maybe it had to do with some veterans that Washington were getting on the team at the time as well, like clashing of the Titans, so to speak.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
In Philadelphia, he's never been anything but, above board, so to speak. Nothing that's surfaced anyway. So, and funny enough, a couple days before the announcement, there was an article on one of the blogs that Mike Schmidt was going to help present the award. So that's a dead giveaway that Harper was going to win it.
Yeah.
I didn't see Schmidt until the night that they announced the award. So I was tweeting right away, oh, is this a big tip off that who's going to win here? And of course it was. But yeah, Harper out there in Las Vegas with his family. He had the red suit on, jacket with the Phillies logos inside of it. Was pretty cool thing there. And when he won his Silver Slugger Award, he was interviewed and he had the Las Vegas cap on. So I thought that was a little odd that he wouldn't give a nod to the Phillies on a national broadcast. That
Mhm.
here's Bryce Harper. He had an LV hat on, and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if that's some tip off of how he feels about the Phillies. But obviously, maybe it wasn't. But he was in good form when he won the MVP, and Shohei Ohtani was his counterpart there in the American League. And what a great season he had. Just a runaway success at the MVP there.
And there again, I mean, can you make an argument that somebody else, he was on a team that did not make the playoffs, you know, either, but eh, he was really it's why anybody followed the American League this year, I think, to see what Otani was going to do. Was he going to hit a homer? Was he going to get a hit? Was he going to pitch? How he was going to pitch. So, double threat guy. You don't see much of them anymore because they discourage it. But I think two worthwhile candidates, and two worthwhile winners. I can't argue with either one of them at all.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw the announcement, but they interviewed the top three vote getters in MLB Network. And one of the guys, Fernando Tatis Jr., seemed like he was out in a car somewhere, you know, taking questions from the guys at MLB Network before the announcement. So that was pretty interesting to read some of the Twitter comments. As oh, great, Fernando Tatis is somewhere out in a vehicle, recording this. So
Yeah. I guess he
interesting.
figured he wasn't going to win it. Yeah.
Probably, yeah, on his way to dinner or something. Gave 5 minutes to the broadcast, although he had a great season too. And
Mm-hmm.
in my blog over at fightingphillies.com, I had a post that said both for the NL MVP and the Cy Young Award winner, you could kind of make a play for either one of those candidates, all six of them that were the top three in each category, to be that respective winner. I mean, you had 42 home runs for Tatis Jr., number of stats for Juan Soto. A lot of people were upset that Harper got it and didn't think he deserved it. I talked to a few people that I'm close with on a daily basis, and they were kind of shocked, because they didn't feel that Harper had that breakout season. Like you said, he didn't lead them to the playoffs. He didn't lead them anywhere other than to an 82-80 record, but he had a quietly good season.
And the Phillies were in it, in the last month of the season too, which helped. He kept them in the race, so that's why I think they went with him. But you mentioned some of the other awards, Rich. I've got a list here of the major awards. Um, let's take a look at the Cy Young, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The LA Robbie AL the LA the AL Robbie Ray of the Toronto Blue Jays was the Cy Young Award winner, and in the National League, the Cy Young Award winner was Corbin Burns of the Milwaukee Brewers. So a couple of more. Robbie Ray, of course, is a free agent, and this is going to help his paycheck go up a little higher, don't you think?
Yeah, he's going to cash in on some of that nice publicity, and uh,
Yeah.
Corbin Burns as well. Sort of had a quiet, good season for him. I didn't think he was on the radar for a Cy Young, going
Yeah.
up against another Philly, of course. And Zach Wheeler, you're familiar with him being a Met fan.
Yes. Yes. Zach Wheeler, the one that shouldn't have got away. Um, they let him walk, and the Phillies picked him up fast. As soon as the Mets didn't offer him anything, the Phillies swooped right in, grabbed him. If I remember correctly, he was signed quickly. But yeah, Zach Wheeler, congratulations to him. He had a very good year for those Phillies, and he deserved consideration. And rookie of the year was interesting, Rich. In the American League, went to, I hope I can say this, Randy Arozarena of the Tampa Bay Rays, and in the National League, Jonathan India of Cincinnati. Now, if you remember, uh, Arozarena came up last year with the Tampa Bay, had that great postseason. Remember, he was on fire, and but he never qualified for the Rookie of the Year. So this was his year to qualify. Had a terrific year again, and made the won the Rookie of the Year for the Tampa Bay Rays in the American League. And Jonathan India, this guy, I really like this guy. I saw this guy when the Mets played the Reds, and boy, he was good. I just thought he was going to be. I was hoping that he would win it because his name stuck in my head. That's how good this kid was, and he was fast. He can hit. He can field. Don't have his stats yet. Just have the list of the winners, but he was a good ball. He's a good ball player.
Yeah, I heard an interview with him on MLB Network Radio, and he was just saying how he was welcomed onto the team, being a rookie and stuff like that from the veterans on the team, and he was just so happy to be playing. Sort of like very graceful that he was an MLB player and loves playing the game. Humble guy. And great. But getting back to that award for the Cy Young, did you know that between Burns and Wheeler, it was the closest vote ever in the Cy Young Award? Usually you have a Cy Young Award winner that's sitting up by himself, sort of
Right.
When Jacob deGrom won it, you had no doubt who was the Cy Young Award winner. But this vote is actually the closest in history of voting for that award. So very cool news to all the winners there. Do you have any more?
I got the managers of the year, and in the American League, Kevin Cash of the Tampa Bay Rays, and in the National League, a guy you're familiar with, Gabe Kapler of the San Francisco Giants. And pretty amazing. Gabe Kapler got literally chased out of town in Philadelphia, but has found a home in San Francisco and did a real nice job out there.
Yeah, he led them to a record number of victories out there. I think 107 was it for the season.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were going to go into the playoffs and take the place over there for a while. But yeah, Gabe Kapler enjoying some of the nice benefits of that sort of a season. Certainly nobody saw them winning the West that much, and they had a great season, and he's got a multi-year deal here, I think. Not sure if San Francisco extended him for 3 years, but he did get an extension as well.
Yeah, he did get, yeah, I don't know what the extension time was, but he did. Yeah. And I guess sometimes it's just a matter of finding the right team, the right fit, the right guy for the right team. And whatever happened out there, it certainly did click.
Yeah, he's out there through the year 2024, 2-year extension for manager of the year. And I never really had anything against Gabe Kapler. I mean, if you look at both seasons, this season and the last season he was with the Phillies, very similar. The Phillies had the same problems, pitching, the bullpen, the closer had the same problems. So,
yeah,
Joe Girardi's a well-seasoned manager, and he rested on the laurels that, the Phillies ended up 82-80 this year and looked a little bit better towards the end of the season, though they collapsed at the end of the season. Same thing with Kapler. So Yeah, it's an interesting comparison between those two managers, and looking at the Phillies, they had very similar results actually.
Yeah. And and Kevin Cash, the second year in a row he won. He's just a terrific young manager. And congratulations to him and that Tampa Bay franchise. That's a model franchise. They can't get that one. They can't get over that hump to get that World Series title. But boy, they keep getting there, and the money situation is just remarkable how they do it.
Yep, that's for sure. Well, we have,
Crazy.
speaking of money, we have tomorrow, as we do this podcast on Sunday, November 20th or 21st, actually on the 22nd, there's going to be an announcement from the MLB that another Japanese player will be available, posted tomorrow morning, and his name is Seiya Suzuki. And I guess as certain Japanese players retire and things like that, the league over there puts another one up for consideration between all 30 teams. His home team, the Hiroshima Carp, put him up to be available to the MLB. And let's see, reading this, it says was reported weeks ago that Suzuki was going to be posted, but official timing of the posting is significant. So that'll be tomorrow and going to expire on December 1st. So all 30 clubs will get a chance to negotiate with him. Predictions that he's going to get a contract of $55 million over 5 years and end up somewhere, usually with a team like either the Dodgers or the Yankees or somebody like that are the teams that end up with these players. But I really hadn't heard too much about him before this. Have you, Gary?
No, I haven't, but they say he's the offensive juggernaut. Just looking at some stats here, he smashed 38 home runs in 131 games in 2021. He's got an 8.4 WAR out of right field. He's won multiple Gold Gloves in his league. Seems like a good ball player. Who knows? But I think sometimes it's a hit or miss with the Japanese players. Some of them are good over there, come here and they're not so good, or they're good, but they're kind of average, you know.
Yeah. And these,
Um,
yep.
so we'll have to see. It doesn't seem like there's the big money like there was. Remember that one guy a couple years ago was like 50 million just to talk to him or something, and remember
Yeah.
that? Am I remember that correctly? And that seems to have gone away, I guess. And um 55 million over 5 years, 11 million a year. I guess that's okay. That's not, it's not too bad. But he's
Yeah. And
got
the
to give
team.
the money.
Mhm.
He's got to get. I'm looking at your article here. It says he's got to give all kinds of breakdown. He pays back the team he's with now, so they make money off of him without even having him on the team. They're making money off.
Yeah. Yeah. They're bringing in, if he gets signed for the 55 million, this article says the Carp would be due about 20% of the contract of the first 25 million, 17.5% of the next 25 million, and 15% of any dollars thereafter. So yeah, they make $10 million just by making him available to an MLB team. So little money making scheme there for Nippon
Yeah, that's not
Professional.
too bad, Rich.
Yeah, put them up for sale, and yeah, they get the
Uh,
benefits of some millions as well.
that's pretty good. Nice work if you can get it.
Yeah, and we had some spats in baseball going back and forth this week. Something to liven up the quietness of the off season, so to speak. Noah Syndergaard, ex-Met, um, signed with the Anaheim Angels out there in California, and a peculiar signing that we talked about a little bit earlier. The Mets offered him the qualifying offer, and then he accepted about $2.5 million or so more to go out to the Angels.
Yeah, and here's the sleazy part about it from my point of view. I don't care what he did, but uh, this was a guy that came off of 2 years he hasn't pitched. He had Tommy John surgery. They stuck with him. They even got him into a game to throw a couple of innings towards the end of the year. The Mets did. He spends the off season. He has an apartment in Manhattan. He spends, time running around Manhattan, going to sporting events, probably getting in for nothing. And, telling the fans that, oh, he hopes the Mets make him a qualifying offer and all of this stuff. All right. He gets the qualifying offer, and then you don't hear a word. And then the next thing you hear is he accepted an offer from the Los Angeles Angels, or whatever name they're using this week. And he tells the Mets he's signing with them as he's flying. He's in a plane, according to the stories. He's in a plane flying to California, and he tells the Mets he's not accepting their qualifying offer. He's signing with the California Angels, Los Angeles Angels. The problem I have was, the players cry about loyalty from the owners, but they have no loyalty to an owner themselves. As I said, they stuck with him through 2 years of non-activity. They paid for his rehab. They did all this. They could easily cut him at any point in time, especially this past season, I think. And for 2.6 million more, it's just, if you're unhappy here, then say it. But don't give us the charade where you want the qualifying offer. I could see. Look, if LA came and said, we'll give you 3 years or 2 years, even at, I don't know, 15 million a year, but 2 years will give you 30 million. I could see it. I could see that, a multi-year deal, you say, for the next 2 years, right? But for no reason at all. I mean, for 2.6 million. Now, as we were talking before, 2.6 is a lot of money. But when you're talking about 18 million and 21, it's really not a lot of money anymore when you're talking these big numbers. So it just seemed like a cheesy way to go, and then to tell them when he's on a plane going out there, good riddance to him. I couldn't care less.
Yeah. And, I'll take the other side of it, so to speak. Went to the Post and read some quotes. And Syndergaard said that essentially after the season, he didn't really hear too much from the Mets. I mean, the Mets house was in disorder. They're looking for a GM for way too long amount of time. Ended up with Billy Epler, who, by the way, was with the Angels before. So an odd twist of fate there, where they're focusing on filling up their top management positions. And here Syndergaard was getting restless, and nobody reached out for him except for maybe the qualifying offer. And in another story, Syndergaard says it went deeper than just a 1-year deal. They have a plan for him beyond the 1-year deal that they didn't sign him to, but evidently the Angels were talking to him about the long term after the 1 year. I mean, could have he stayed in New York? Yeah. Should have he stayed in New York? I think he should have. A healthy DeGrom next year, maybe. I'm not too sure where he's at with his rebuild, but
Nobody is.
yeah.
Yeah, I look. It is what it is. I mean, but again, for that little amount of money, and long term, how do they didn't have a GM in place. They probably would have had a plan for him if he would have took the qualifying offer. We'll never know now.
Yeah.
Because whatever they say, he's gonna say otherwise. So and they didn't contact him. Well, they were working on other things. They made him the whole thing was they thought enough of him to make him a qualifying offer. They
Yeah.
could have just tossed him to the garbage and just said, nah, you know what? We're not going to take any more chances. He was, he was hurt. He had the Tommy John. He's been hurt, but we're not going to bought. No, they gave him the qualifying offer, which is what he begged for, essentially. After the season was over, he was going around campaigning for it, and then oh, now everything is bad. See, I don't. If you get traded like that, or if you get traded, or you walk away, don't. I've said this how many times, Rich? Don't badmouth your old team because there's only 30 teams in the major leagues.
Yeah.
And you don't know when you may have to come back again. Steven Matz got traded to Toronto. Now they're talking about bringing him back. Steven Matz didn't say a bad thing about the Mets. Now you can bring him back. Uh, it's just keep your mouth shut because you don't know. You just don't know. I mean, who was it? I can't think of his name now. A couple of years ago, they traded him to Pittsburgh. Bad mouth the Mets up and down. And then had a couple of bad years in Pittsburgh. And then the Mets needed a lefty back, and they brought him back.
Yeah.
And he got booed mercilessly because you don't keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. The
And,
fans don't.
yeah, I mean, just say it didn't work out. It didn't. This is a better opportunity for me, I felt, in the long term. That's it.
And
That's it.
Syndergaard just recently got into it with longtime broadcaster Mike Francesa in a Twitter feud. And Francesa sounded off about the leaving of Syndergaard and tweeted out something about it the other day. And then Noah Syndergaard learned of it and tweeted back to him. So it's quite a battle. Francesa pointing out Syndergaard's injury history. And then Thor replied by saying, quote unquote, congrats on still being alive
Oh,
to Francesa. So he, I think there was another quote Elon Musk said about one of the politicians, the same tone, congratulations on still being alive. So Thor sort of stole that line because that was in the news about 2 weeks ago. Elon Musk and the Democrat there from Vermont.
Leahy.
No, the other, the top. He was a candidate for president not too long ago. Can't remember his name.
Sanders.
He's the socialist. Yeah, Bernie
Oh,
Sanders.
yeah, Bernie Sanders.
Elon Musk and him went back and forth, and Elon Musk said the same thing about Sanders. I didn't even know you were still alive, like. But Thor and Mike Francesa going back and forth, and I'm not a big fan of Francesa anymore.
Well, but he's entitled to his opinion. This is the problem nowadays. You got this stupid Twitter. I don't even have Twitter on my phone or anything. I just use it to announce when the show comes out, and that's it. I don't use it. I never liked it. I can't follow it. It makes no sense at all to me. People send me stuff, but if they don't send you the whole thing, you don't know. I don't know half the time what they're talking about. I get these notifications from Twitter. I go on there and it's something. I'm like, well, what is this guy talking about? And I don't know how they pick up the thread. You can't. It's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to follow threads sometimes. That's for
Uh,
sure. But Francesca shot back after after the "didn't know you were alive" comment, and he said to Cindy Garden, "I competed every day for 35 years and won in my chosen profession in the greatest city in the world. Noah whined and ran away." Then Syndergaard replied again, "Only thing you've ever won is being a gas bag, Mets hating opportunist. All you've done is talk," and I won't say the word because it's a family show, "and spread toxic crap for a career. Congrats again, sweetie. You're doing great."
you know, childish.
So Francesa and Syndergaard not at the
God.
same table for Thanksgiving for sure. Maybe they can mend the fences.
I don't think they'll be sending Christmas cards to one another either, but come on. This Twitter is really it in me is really the cause of a lot of problems in this country and in this world now. I mean, it is just a problem and a half. I don't even think Facebook's as bad. But Twitter is really terrible. So I don't know. I don't even
Well,
bother with it.
we don't want to get off topic, but even blocking a guy like Trump, I mean, regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump, he should not be blocked on any social media. And anyone that does it is just as bad as the communist Chinese, in my
Well,
opinion.
yeah, I agree. I agree. If you don't agree with them, they block you. So, especially in politics, political matters. Not so much in sports, it seems they don't block you. But I don't know. I just think it's a terrible thing, and good luck to you, Noah. That's it. You're out of here now. Good luck. I hope you bomb every game, but we'll see you around the mulberry bush.
Yeah. One good thing Twitter is good for is the dissemination of news. I was in a newsroom years ago, and something that caught me was the teletype. It constantly was, spitting out new stories on a printer. And that's essentially what Twitter does. It just, it's a nonstop merry-go-round of stories and, sans the spats that it brews a lot. People are very opinionated. They'll go back and forth. It's happened to me with my own little blog in the Philadelphia area. Some people can get nasty back and forth, and I try not to be. It's, to me, it's kind of stupid to do that, but it happens.
One thing to see, like I said, I get notifications from them because I do have a Twitter account, but there's crazy stuff that shows up there too that you don't know if it's real or not. I'll give you an instance. I got a notification that apparently, now I don't think it's true, but the Mets were working on a trade for Trout. And this guy had players and everything, and it wasn't one of them stupid trades, like like Trout for I don't know, McCann or something. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
it was seemed like a decent trade. It was like a couple of young starting pitches, couple of prospects, but not the big name. It made sense almost to a certain extent. Um, Never heard anything about it. So that's what I mean, though. I mean, what do you believe coming out of that thing? Unless it's by somebody you recognize, but somebody says I don't know the people from Los Angeles. Somebody a writer came out with something like that. I don't know who came out with it. I can't remember now. I don't know whether it was, I guess it wasn't anybody. I think it was just somebody making up a trade.
Yeah, sounds like it. Trout. Uh, I, he might be better off going to another team like Trout at this point, because it doesn't seem like the Angels are going to go anywhere in the playoffs, and he's not getting any younger. So, I mean, I know he's making the millions, but in the end, these guys want to win a World Series championship. But you don't hear many complaints from him. He's probably just
Yeah.
happy collecting that 37.5 mil or whatever it is, and goes about his business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. But I mean, I don't know if is his wife from out in California or
Pretty sure, yeah, but he, probably has his home out there. He has his home here. He's probably in Philadelphia today. He's a big Eagles fan, so he's at all the games. He sits right on the field. There's a special section for him, and he's not in the stands. He's actually in a seat right on the field. So
those are the
being Mike,
worst seats though.
yeah, being Mike Trout has its benefits in Philly.
I know, but it's so hard to follow a football game on the field.
He's elevated too. He's not like
Oh,
in
he's
a
okay. All
in a
right.
folding chair. He's in some sort of special fan area
Yeah, yeah.
there that
I got you.
and every week the local broadcast tunes in on him, shows him, watching the
Yeah,
game
yeah.
and having fun, probably with his friends out there. But I heard he has a new mansion under construction in the South Jersey area as well. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, you
So
got
maybe there's
got to
something to
spend
the
those
rumors.
millions. Got to
Maybe
spend
there's
those
something to
millions.
the rumors.
Yeah, he could relocate to a team on the East very easily.
Yeah, take a helicopter from there to the stadium.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, isn't it great to speculate?
Yes, it is. Well, one thing you don't have to speculate is the MLB This Week podcast. You can hear it here wherever you're listening to, and hit that subscribe button because we want to expand our number of listeners, and that will help us do that as well. And of course, we're at anchor.fm/baseball talk radio show. That's our main site where this show is hosted. You can find us at baseballtalkradio.com. It's a nice collection that's ever expanding on independent and non-independent baseball talk shows. And I said on my podcast, Gary, last week that I wanted to expand it to 100 shows. So that's my goal for the off season. I want to get 100 baseball podcasts listed on the website there at baseballtalkradio.com. So check it out. And this section of the show, we usually do a little bit on our listeners, and we'll give you some of those stats right now from the show. Let me bring it up here for the YouTube viewers. Apple Podcasts, 72% of the listeners listen to us from Apple Podcasts here on Anchor. Amazon Alexa, Google Podcasts, 3%, Overcast, 2%. And did you know that you can listen to our show on a smart speaker? Like if you have a Google home device or Apple home device, you can just say, play the Baseball Talk Radio Show podcast, and chances are it's going to be our show. So, and it plays the latest version because I tested it on my own Phillies Talk podcast a couple of days ago, and it works flawlessly. With mine, though, you have to use Phillies Talk podcast with Rich Baxter because there's another podcast in town, the NBC show, the official podcast, that named the same thing, Phillies Talk podcast. So you have to say with Rich Baxter if you want to listen to mine. So check it out. Those are our primary listeners, and the iPhone, Gary, gets 66% of listeners, Android 7%, smart speaker, there's that number, 7%.
Wow.
Gaining, it's gaining up. So it's very easy to do with just your voice. So people that can't listen to podcasts and don't know how to find them, it's a godsend, those smart speakers. So you just know what to say. That's the only thing.
Well, you could just say Mets musings and
Exactly. You can hear Gary's show. It's Mets Musings, the great Gary Mack. You can hear every week. Last week, you did a show on the spring training. They have a Mets team that gets together of fans down there. So that was interesting.
yeah, fantasy camp. Very interesting. One of my good friends was just came back from it, as a matter of fact. And they do this every year. You pay, and um, but it's like going through spring training. Everything is there for you. The uniforms, everything, and you play against other teams of campers, as they call them. And he says there's guys there from all ages, from like 35 to 70, and they try to accommodate everybody. They have pinch runners if you can't run, and so everything is there for you, and they people love it. They come back year after year, and I have to tell you, it's not cheap. So it must be a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. The Phillies have been running something like that for many years now, 20, 25 years, 30 maybe. And yeah, as you said, that I think they've reached that plateau of what they can charge for that, because it's been the same price for the Phillies for years. If you're a player, it's $49.95. $5,000 gets you in for a week. And the Phillies don't do theirs till mid-January. So they sort of get in the sweet spot there right prior to spring training and stuff. You're actually there for a week, probably a good month before the Phillies start up. So something I've always dreamed of doing, but maybe one year.
Well, 49.95. We're not talking about $49.95.
5,000 bucks. But yeah, as Gary said, you get the uniforms, the benefit of the training with the players and the playing and just camaraderie. It's one of those things where it's a premium experience. So, and
It's a
inflation hasn't touched the price of that.
and it's a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
We all dream of being a major league player when you're young, and this at an older age you can actually come the closest to fulfilling that dream, in a certain way. You get to play on the field, you get to be coached by former stars, so it's that. And
And you get to meet them as well. So that they have
oh
like top players in the organization over the
yeah.
years, managers, GMs maybe, and you get to meet and train with them and find out uh, how fun it is. So that was a great show. So tune into that one over at Mets Musings, and Gary's great blog there at metsmusings.com. Always a great place to stop in the off season or during the regular season.
Well, thank you for that. And we are always looking for help. If you'd like to help and support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/baseball talk, or at the Anchor site, anchor.fm, that Rich told you about, /baseball talk radio show. Either one there, you could, drop a little donation to help out the show. We are in completely self-supported, if that's the way to say it, Rich. We have no sponsors. We have no uh no inter
Affiliations.
no affiliations, no interruptions, whatever.
Yeah.
So Anything you do to help us out will be greatly appreciated.
Yes, indeed. And we thank you very much for tuning in to this edition. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody out there, however you celebrate it. Turkey, the trimmings, or whether you go out for dinner with family or just by yourself out there. Make it the best holiday you can. Stay in touch with us. Send us an email, rich at baseballtalkradio.com or Gary at baseballtalkradio.com. You want to bring up a holiday story concerning baseball or something like that, share it with us. We'd be glad to hear it.
Yeah, and have a great, like Rich said, have a nice Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time on the Baseball Talk Radio Show.